I waited until everyone was asleep, then slipped into my father-in-law's room. It was the first time anything like this had ever happened. No one heard a thing. Let me tell you how it all began. My boyfriend and I had been together for almost 3 years. Ours was a calm, stable, normal relationship. We lived with his father, and we talked about getting our own place, making plans, but it wasn't time yet. His father's house was large and quiet, the kind where every sound carries at night. The 4 of us had dinner together, my father-in-law, my boyfriend, his older brother, and me. We laughed, watched TV, everything felt completely normal. His brother went to bed early, and my boyfriend did too, since they both had to get up early for work the next day. I said I'd stay up a little longer to watch something on TV. And that's when it all started. His father stayed in the living room as well. It wasn't the first time we'd talked alone, but that night felt different. I can't pinpoint the exact moment when it stopped being an innocent conversation and started to feel something else. Nothing happened. There was no physical contact. Just strange looks. Comments that could have seemed normal, but weren't. Eventually, I went to bed. I lay down next to my boyfriend. He fell asleep within minutes, as always, deep, peaceful, holding me without knowing anything. But I couldn't sleep. I felt restless, like my mind was stuck on something. I stared at the ceiling. Turned over. Closed my eyes, then opened them again. And then I heard footsteps in the hallway. Not loud. Slow. The kind of steps someone takes when they don't want to wake anyone. I didn't get up right away. I just stayed still, listening. The footsteps stopped, then came back. A door closed softly, my father-in-law's bedroom door. That should have been the end of it. But my mind wouldn't settle. On the contrary, the idea came out of nowhere, first as something absurd, almost laughable. Then as something possible. And finally, as something I couldn't get out of my head. Several minutes passed. Maybe half an hour. I looked at my boyfriend. He was asleep, completely unaware of everything happening. He held me while he slept, never imagining what was about to happen. I got up slowly. I thought about it as I sat on the edge of the bed. I thought about it as my feet touched the cold floor. I thought about it as I stood still for a few seconds, listening to the house in total silence. There were no sounds. I opened the door carefully. The hallway was dark, lit only by a faint light coming from the kitchen. Every step sounded louder than it actually was. I walked slowly, avoiding the floorboards that creaked. I could hear my own breathing. I stopped in front of his door. That's when I hesitated. I stood there for a few seconds, thinking. No one had seen me. No one knew I was awake. I could turn around, go back to bed, hold my boyfriend, and the next day everything would continue as normal. But I didn't. I pushed the door gently, testing whether it would make noise. A few long seconds passed. Then it opened further, and I went in. He was awake. We didn't talk much, barely at all. There was no need. We both knew exactly why I was there, and that was clearer than any words. The house was completely still, and that silence made everything feel even more dangerous. Afterward, I walked out slowly. I went to the bathroom and turned on the faucet for a few seconds, just in case someone woke up and needed an explanation for why I was out of the room. I stood in front of the mirror, staring at myself, still unable to believe what had just happened. 5 minutes later, I went back to my boyfriend's room. He was still asleep in exactly the same position. I lay down slowly, and without waking up, he wrapped his arm around me automatically. I rested my head on his chest and closed my eyes. His breathing was calm. He knew nothing, or at least, that's what it seemed. No one in that house knew what had just happened. And to this day, no one does. The next morning, I woke up before he did. Not because I wanted to wake up early, but because my mind hadn't truly rested. I had slept, yes, but it wasn't deep sleep. It was that strange state where your body shuts down, but your mind keeps replaying every second of the night before. The first thing I felt was his arm around my waist. My boyfriend. I turned my head slightly and saw him sleeping peacefully. That relaxed expression he always had in the morning, as if nothing had happened. He was exactly the same as always, the only one who felt different was me. For a moment, I stayed still, staring at the ceiling, trying to process what I had done just a few steps away from there. The house was quiet, though the usual morning sounds were beginning: dishes, movement in the kitchen, footsteps. My father-in-law was already awake. A few seconds later, my boyfriend opened his eyes. He looked at me, smiled like he did every morning, and kissed me. He asked if I had slept well. I told him yes. I lied. I hadn't really slept. But he didn't know that. We got up, got dressed, and walked to the kitchen. Even that simple act felt strange. It was as if the house was the same, but not anymore. Every corner now held a memory that only two people shared. I walked in first. And then I saw him. My father-in-law was sitting at the table, looking at something on his phone, drinking coffee. He glanced up the moment I entered the kitchen. It wasn't a long look. It wasn't obvious. But it was enough. It was that exact second when two people know something no one else does. My face flushed instantly. He said nothing. Neither did I. My reaction was automatic. I looked away, greeted him in a normal tone, and focused on anything that would keep me from meeting his eyes again. I sat next to my boyfriend. He started talking about his plans for the day, about work, completely normal things. I nodded, responded, even smiled, but in reality, I was carefully controlling every gesture so I wouldn't seem off. Because I had to pretend. If I acted differently, someone would notice. The only uncomfortable moments were when, by accident, my eyes met his. He didn't smile. He didn't hint at anything. But there were subtle, almost imperceptible gestures, as if silently confirming that we both remembered exactly what had happened. I avoided him. Holding his gaze made me feel uneasy, almost embarrassed. I finished breakfast before everyone else and offered to take the dishes to the sink, just to move, to have something to do with my hands. My boyfriend didn't even notice. After that, everyone went on with their routine. Nothing like this had ever happened to me before. I had never cheated on anyone. I had never been unfaithful. I didn't even consider myself the kind of person who could do something like that. But that night, it happened.